Kansas City Sports Update Studios. Welcome to Kingdom Radio, where we talk about all things Kansas City Chiefs. Brought to you by Arrowhead Update. Join Chris and Richard on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, Player FM, CastBox, and all third-party applications. Check us out on Facebook platforms such as Kansas City Sports Update and Arrowhead Update. And if you cannot find us there, Google or search Kingdom Radio and Kansas City Chiefs, and you will find us. Welcome to the Kingdom.
How are we doing, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome to KC Kingdom Radio. I am your host, Richard Smith, and with me, as always, my co-host, Kris-Chavez. Tonight, we're going to discuss a Chris Jones contract, as well as KC Kingdom Radio has teamed up with the Artist Chief for a giveaway. What we have going on here is there is a Champions Print 11x14 Patrick Mahomes painting that the Artist Chief has painted himself that we are giving away later on here in the show. The Artist Chief, his name is Corey Jones. He's done a number of paintings for players, including Patrick Mahomes and Chris Jones. He does some incredible work, and anybody who gets this painting tonight, really has something special. Go follow Corey on Twitter. It is Corey O, which is the letter O and 4. So at Corey O4. Go check him out. But we will talk about that giveaway here in just a little bit. But Chris, how are you doing? Do you feel a little bit better? Can you breathe a little bit now that the Chiefs have signed Chris Jones to a lengthy contract?
I've been saying it all summer long as far as running it back. But looking at how this offseason has played out, we're going to be running it back. I'm so excited with this contract signing with Jones, and the future cannot look any better for the Chiefs right now.
It is definitely looking like a scenario where we're starting, a dynasty here, and here in Chiefs Kingdom, there have been mention of that before. And I think it's safe to say when you lock in a player like Chris Jones and make him the third highest defensive tackle in the NFL, well deserving, mind you. Look, we're putting a very polished product on the field, this Chris Jones contract really came on the heels of the Patrick Mahomes contract, which, Chris, I wanted to ask you about this because we haven't really got a chance to discuss this situation. Do you feel like that the Chiefs pushed the Patrick Mahomes contract because Chris Jones gave the Chiefs that deadline of July 15th to get his contract done as well? Do you think that helped the Chris Jones kind of putting the pressure on Kansas City, help them get the Patrick Mahomes deal done as well?
I feel that they were definitely related. The Chiefs had to know what kind of money they were investing in their quarterback in order to know what they could invest in the rest of the team, both now and in the future. And the fact that the Chiefs and Chris Jones, quote-unquote, haven't talked since the Super Bowl up until about a week ago after the Mahomes deal, kind of supports that same philosophy that they were really focused on getting Mahomes' deal done first so that then they could really focus in and hone in on getting Jones the money that he was asking for.
Right, and I will say this: Brett-Veach pulled a bold move, by pulling the strings to go ahead and pay Patrick with everything that's going on with this pandemic and the future, and it being such a large contract that it is. I'll give him his credit. It's a bold move. To turn around a week later and pay Chris Jones a 4-year, $80 million contract, but there's the guaranteed money is $60 million. Guaranteed at signing was $37 million. And so, there's incentives behind that. 10 sack seasons are worth $1.25 million to Chris Jones. So just like the Mahomes contract, Brett-Veach pulled genius moves, adding incentives into their contract, and putting them on the back end instead of it hurting the salary cap.
Yeah, Sorry.
Yeah, so look, this season, 2020, Chris Jones has his base salary at $16 million, just over $16 million. So, for the cap hit that we were expecting to take for this contract, I will have to would venture to say that it fell better, within the cap with all the incentives behind it than it would have if the Chiefs would have just given Chris Jones $80 million guaranteed money.
Yeah, no, absolutely. With all the incentives, it also really helps to push Jones to want to perform even better, to get those markers and to make that extra bonus money, as well as Patrick Mahomes. But then you also have the roster bonuses of just being on the roster, or on certain dates they're going to get paid rather substantially there, and it's going to take less of a cap hit by doing that rather than if they had just done it straight on in the salary.
And and that is what I just mentioned, and that is the genius of brett-veach. And this is one of those things that when it comes to Chris Jones and his career, we're looking at a man who has really progressed his entire career. I know that his sack total fell off, from 2018, but it's really hard to match at a 15.5 sack season. But he followed it up with a 9 sack season, and this year he also had Frank Clark as well as the Honey Badger with production as well. So he wasn't by himself doing all of this. So look, I feel like this situation, Chris, is a scenario where we won't see any fall off of production from Chris Jones. This is a guy who is in the peak of his career, and he's been paid. He wanted to be in Kansas City. He wants to live in Kansas City. On top of loving the community, he's ready to run it back. And so, Chris Jones put out a tweet, it was either today or yesterday, saying that, he loves brett-veach. I mean, he, said brett-veach is the man, and I agree. So, Chris, do you think that there's any factor of worry of Chris Jones' production falling off now that he has been paid?
The one thing that does have me concerned, and it's not because he got paid, is injury.
Yes.
This year, which this factor kind of led into Chris Jones's fall in his sack totals. He got injured this year, but if you look at his sack or his snaps per sack ratio, he led the league in 72 point something in snaps per sack, which actually beat out Aaron Donald, who was at 74 and change snaps per sack. So he was well on his way to potentially having had another 15 sack season. The injury just kind of crept up on him a little bit and slowed him down. But he's 26. He's going to be reaching the prime of his career in Kansas City. I'm extremely excited to have him for his prime on our D-line in that beast mode that he has on the D-line with all the pieces around him. The only thing that can really slow him down right now is going to be the injuries. I don't see him as the type where, I got paid, I'm going to take it easy now. He's going to keep working hard to run it back, to get that Defensive Player of the Year award that he also put out on Twitter. This guy wants it just as bad as everybody else on the team, and it was fantastic to see how bad he wanted it.
And I couldn't agree more with you. And I want to add to that a little bit, as far as his time spent in Kansas City, through his contract coming up right now through 2023. That'll be an 8-year career in Kansas City for a player who is obviously, a top-tier defensive line talent. And You think about having Frank Clark locked in, the Honey Badger locked in. There's a number of key pieces here that, especially on the defensive side of the ball, that the Chiefs locked in long term, and that should be a bit of confidence for Chiefs Kingdom. Now, I know that we're lacking on the defensive secondary. I don't think that too many people are giving Charvarius Ward enough credit, and we'll see how that goes. But the confidence level on the defensive side of the ball, just in this signing right here, and one that I really thought was out of reach. This is brilliant. This is brilliance by Brett-Veach, and we couldn't ask for a better scenario, a better front office, and a better future for the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, no, I think all of Kingdom should be singing Brett-Veach's praises right now. The fact that he went into this offseason with so many players set to be lost to free agency, and at one point only having had, I'm going to elaborate or exaggerate a little bit here, but only having enough money underneath the salary cap to buy a Snickers bar.
Right.
And for him to be able to essentially bring back almost every single major contributor on the Super Bowl run, to extend Chris Jones and Patrick Mahomes on this deal, and still have enough money going into the season, it's tremendous. And it's one of those things where I kind of did not expect for Brett-Veach to be such a savvy GM this young in his career, and as well as the to have such an eye for talent as well. He is probably the most complete GM in the NFL, and he really showed his ability this offseason. It's been fantastic to watch. I'm super stoked moving into the future.
And I'm going to add to this Brett-Veach scenario here, because we were actually going to touch base on Brett-Veach, but I think we'll go ahead and move into that now. And we can go back to Chris Jones if we would like. But I would venture to say, you said that Brett-Veach is the most complete and well-rounded GM in the league right now, which I completely agree. But what I want to add to that is, just like Patrick Mahomes, okay, the next talent, close to him, everybody wants to say Lamar Jackson. Well-deserved, different style quarterback, but there's, a certain level of talent there that puts Lamar Jackson above other quarterbacks. But the talent comparison between Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes isn't even close. And so I want to give Brett-Veach those same accolades and give him his respect. And I want to say as well that, yes, he is the best GM in the league, and it's not even close. It's not even close. This man has pulled some of the most genius moves on an NFL roster in a short amount of time that anybody has seen in a long time. And the great thing about it is this situation with Chris Jones right here proves to everyone in the NFL that if you do numbers right, this is like Moneyball, the Oakland A's. I mean, they went the other way, but you think about this. The numbers game is something that Brett-Veach is a genius at, and then on top of that, he is a scout before he is a general manager. So Brett-Veach sits in the scout meeting with all of his scouts, and he watches tape too. And then the character with each player. Chris, we have talked about this a bunch of times, that we feel that Brett-Veach and Andy Reid have a checklist that they go through for every single player that comes into the organization, because there's a certain value to intellect, leadership, and skill. And so there's a formula that I feel like Brett-Veach and Andy Reid have come up with that is flawless, and they are exploiting it to the T. They're making it work. There was one article that I read about Brett-Veach last season that had stated that when it comes to trades, when it comes to contracts, when it comes to signing a free agent, when it comes to the draft, the Kansas City Chiefs absolutely exercise every single mathematical avenue that they possibly can for each player that they have their eye on. And it is, there's no circumstance that is out of the question. And I think that is the brilliance of that front office, to say, hey, look, we can make this happen. It's a numbers game. We can get the number that we need, and we're going to figure out a way that we can do that but fall within the salary cap. And I think that's also the great thing about incentives, behind contracts, is that is exactly where brett-veach and Andy Reid are using their genius. Is we're giving guaranteed money, enough guaranteed money, but the GM and the head coach are giving enough incentive behind it, to make the contract more valuable to the player and more valuable to the city and really the organization, because that depth chart is flawless and there's a couple pieces that really need to be fixed, and this is just a testament to something the NFL has never seen. The Chiefs have built a model. They've built a model, and every other team is following it right now, and they're not really being able to keep up. So, Chris, this is just the scenario of pure genius. It really is pure genius.
Yeah, and kind of, I want to touch on something that we've talked about in the past of if and when we should give brett-veach an extension. And to be perfectly honest, after this offseason, Clark Hunt, if you're listening, brother, pay the man. This guy has earned it. He's shown that he is 100% capable. And to use a term that, a lot of teams tend to use this term rather loosely, but I think it rather applies here. We have a couple unicorns on our team.
Absolutely.
We've got Patrick Mahomes, who's absolutely a unicorn, Chris Jones, who is a unicorn, and the landlord, who is a unicorn.
Yes.
You've got a unicorn at GM.
Yes.
And just like we've done with the players, we have to lock up our GM as well.
I completely agree. And look, this is the respect that brett-veach is getting. I saw an article on social media or online somewhere today, and I shared it on KC Kingdom Radio Facebook page. And it was talking about, it was from the Denver Post. And it said John Elway needs to quit watching what Kansas City is doing and quit being in awe of Kansas City and focus on his own team. And so for the Denver Post, to say that about John Elway, there are organizations in awe of what is going on in Kansas City. The Chiefs are not scared to pull the trigger. Look at the Clyde Edwards-Helaire deal. In the draft, the Chiefs pulled the trigger at 32 when no running back should go in the first round at this point because the draft stock has fallen, and actually really stock on running backs has fallen dramatically. But the Chiefs went against the grain, and they took what they needed, and they didn't go traditional, with the draft like it has been for 100 years now. The Chiefs are doing what they want. They're doing the right thing. They're understanding the value of their players. They're understanding rookie contracts. They're understanding extension. I mean, they literally have broke this thing down, to the finest grain of salt, and it really is a pleasure to watch. And I'm going to, take it to the next level. Look, if brett-veach keeps this up, and yes, Chris, I say that Kansas City needs to pay brett-veach, and I say that it needs to be a lengthy contract, just like Veach gave Mahomes. But another aspect, brett-veach, if you bring Kansas City a Super Bowl this season, given there is a season, let's say there's not. If you bring a Super Bowl next season, build a statue in Kansas City for brett-veach, because this man has done one of the most phenomenal things that any GM could do in an organization that he came into that was, I don't want to say in shambles, but really had no direction. There was a ceiling with Alex Smith. He brought leadership and brought success, but there was a ceiling to Alex Smith. So there wasn't a future with him. No matter how much we loved him in Kansas City, he just really was not the future of the Chiefs and couldn't get us over the hump with the Super Bowl. And so Brett-Veach picked the whole defense apart. I read every single key piece that Kansas City loved, and we held our breath, and we watched what Brett-Veach did. And the offense as well. We're 4 or 5 years in, and we have a Madden All-Star team, on rookie mode where we're beating teams 50, 60 to nothing. And this is going to be a pleasure to watch, and it is all a testament to that front office.
Yeah, I don't think we could really sing their praises enough. And like you said, it really is as if Brett-Veach has put together a team for the Chiefs that whenever we play, we're playing everybody else on easy mode. And to put together that type of roster from top down as quickly as he has. Now, absolutely, I'm going to give some credit here to the guy before him. We still do have some of those pieces, but the turnover, the changes that Veach has made and been willing to make. I mean, last summer we had so many people in Kingdom who were complaining about having lost D Ford, Justin Houston, Tamba Hali, Eric Berry, and how awful our defense was going to be. As we saw at the end of the year last year, things came together, with the new coach, with the new players. Everybody really brought it together, and it's all due to the vision of Veach.
Yes.
And his willingness to allow his coaches to coach the talent and not just bring in the talent and overpay to bring the talent in, which is what Kansas City has experienced since I very first started watching way back in '89.
And to be perfectly honest with you, I mean, a lot of franchises are experiencing this, and you really led into what I wanted to say next, which that was perfect. But Chris, if you think about this aspect of the dynamic of the Kansas City Chiefs, say you put this exact same team under a different GM and a different team name, the depth chart top to bottom is the same. I promise you this season, if it was any other team, Sammy Watkins wouldn't be there and Chris Jones wouldn't be there.
Oh, absolutely. Pioli would have screwed up the salary cap numbers in there. Eric Dorsey would be trading away vital pieces for awful draft picks. And that's just kind of what we've experienced over the years.
But I feel that with other organizations too, though.
No, absolutely. And you kind of sit back and you watch the Houston Texans absolutely go nuclear on their own roster when it wasn't even required. Looking at what their coach did with DeAndre Hopkins,
yes.
If he had waited to see how Brett-Veach ended up pulling off these two contracts, he could have had a model for how to have kept DeAndre Hopkins with Deshaun Watson.
Yes.
It blows my mind that all these other teams haven't figured this out already, but also we're going to start to see other teams start to emulate these types of contracts that Brett-Veach is putting together.
Hey, and realistically, I mean, why do you, I don't want to say it. That is a testament to the Denver Post, making an article about John Elway needing to focus on his own team and not the Kansas City Chiefs. You said it right there, brother. It is, the Chiefs have built a model. It is the model in the NFL. You want a successful organization, you do what the Kansas City Chiefs have done. But the thing about it is, Chris, is this is what I love, and this is the genius part behind it, is all these other teams can see what the Chiefs have done and see the numbers, but it doesn't mean they're capable of doing that on their own roster. It doesn't mean that they have the mental wherewithal to, when you have a contract like Patrick Mahomes, the biggest in sports history, and then you have a player right behind him, and Chris Jones demanding $20 million a year, well deserved. There's probably no other GM in the league that would have the savvy intellect to pull both of those triggers in the same week and make them team friendly.
Yeah, it's almost unheard of, and I feel like a broken record when I'm saying this, but it's just a testament to the genius of Brett-Veach.
Yes, I mean, and look, this every single contract that comes across the table for the Kansas City Chiefs from here on out, I promise you on KC Kingdom Radio, the credit is going to go to Brett-Veach. And we're going to say his name over and over and over again until you are hearing it in your sleep, because that is how important of an asset Brett-Veach is to Kansas City. I mean, already in a few short years has far surpassed Carl Peterson. And if you are a diehard Kansas City Chiefs fan, you know how much Carl Peterson brought to the Chiefs and to the 1990s. Put together some pretty stellar teams and had a few legends that will never be forgotten on those teams. And Brett-Veach is building that now, but already won a Super Bowl. The youngest GM ever to win a Super Bowl, is that correct, Chris?
Yes.
The youngest general manager in NFL history to win a Super Bowl is Brett-Veach. Build this man a statue in Kansas City. It's time, because this isn't going to stop. This isn't going to stop. This is just the beginning. Patrick Mahomes said that himself. I really believe it. I hear a lot of analysts and people on Facebook and all these AFC West Facebook groups, and there's so many fans out there that want to discredit what Patrick Mahomes has done within the first few years of his NFL career. And, I'm here to say, as a Chiefs fan, we have watched every single snap of this kid's career, whether, it be preseason, before he started, in practice, hearing what all the players had to say before we saw him hit the field, college. This kid, I'll say this 100 times. He's better than everybody else in the league, and it's not even close. And to hear people try to discredit what he's done completely blows my mind. And to hear people say that there's better quarterbacks in the league than Patrick Mahomes also baffles me as well. Chris, what do you have to say about this? I mean, because I'm sure you've ran into this or seen this on Facebook or Twitter or anywhere on the internet of someone trying to discredit what Patrick Mahomes has done. That's at this point, it's not even fair, and it's not even rational.
Yeah. So one of the points that I think.
Oh, did we lose Chris? Still there, Chris? Did we lose Chris? Well, I might have lost him. Let's get him back on the line here. What do you think? Hey, sometimes you have issues like this. But yes, Patrick Mahomes, realistically, it's not even close. Well, we're going to get him back on here. And, it's just one of those things that...
Hey, sorry, I lost you.
Yep. All right, Chris. So let's get back in here real quick. What, are your thoughts on Patrick Mahomes and the haters trying to discredit, Mahomes and his brilliance?
So what I tend to hear a lot of is that Patrick Mahomes is nothing but a system quarterback. That Andy Reid is just creates a system that his quarterbacks can be successful in, which is true. You look back at Andy Reid's past history with all of his quarterbacks, they all become successful. Even the backups, they step in and they are successful in his system. Kevin Kolb, guys who people never hear of. Nick Foles became successful in Andy Reid's system.
Yes.
But you look at what Patrick Mahomes does. He's successful in Andy Reid's system, absolutely. But he's successful also when he goes off script. And when he just kind of plays backyard ball, where he just sits back there and slings it, runs around, buys time, finds somebody who gets open. That's not a system. That is just a pure ball player.
Yes.
And
that's raw talent.
Yeah, exactly. And there are very few quarterbacks in the league who can do that, but nobody is doing it at the level that Patrick Mahomes is.
I also feel like, excuse me, that a lot of quarterbacks in the league don't have the confidence to go out there and use their raw talent and that backyard football and scramble around and make the big plays that Mahomes makes. There is a huge confidence level with Mahomes, but he carries it very well. You know,
No, absolutely.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. And how he carries it, it just goes back to his background, his history of being around professional sports since he's been a kid.
Yes, absolutely. That's a testament to Pat Mahomes and, having that locker room environment and being around players like Alex Rodriguez as a child. And, it was sports his entire life, but on a professional scale. So, Chris, let's get into this giveaway. Are you ready to do this giveaway?
Oh, absolutely.
All right, so check it out. Again, we're going to break this down again. I really, the artist chief has really done some brilliant paintings, and I mean, like I said, we're talking players like Patrick Mahomes and Chris Jones and Tyrann Mathieu. Just a bunch of high-profile players this man has done paintings for. So for there, to be a free giveaway of a Patrick Mahomes 11x14 Champions print. And I want to say this as well. Patrick Mahomes does have a copy of this painting. There is a picture on Corey Jones' Facebook page, and it shows Patrick Mahomes holding this painting up that is being given away on KC Kingdom Radio this evening. But again, this is 11x14 Patrick Mahomes Champions print, and the winner is Bob Noller from Overland Park, Kansas. Again, that is Bob Noller from Overland Park, Kansas. This giveaway, has been promoted for the last week or two, has been shared everywhere. You had to tune in to win. Bob, if you're listening, congratulations. You have seen the print yourself. You've seen the painting. This is high quality. Corey Jones really has a pulse on painting and networking and be involved with the Chiefs, and so this is something special. So Bob Noller, congratulations. Thank you for being a part of the contest here with KC Kingdom Radio and the Artist Chief. I'm sure we'll be doing some more promotions here soon. Again, hey, thank you for taking part, Kansas City. We really appreciate you following us on Twitter, following the Artist Chief, Corey Jones. And look, tune in and keep listening because there will be more giveaways. But again, congratulations, Bob Noller from Overland Park, Kansas. So, Chris, the giveaway is done. We have collaborated with the Artist Chief. And Chris, you have seen this painting. It is something else, isn't it? It is a really nice painting, and I mean, look, Patrick Mahomes has the exact same painting.
Yeah, no, it's an amazing piece that I would love to have that for my own little collection.
Right, right.
Very well done.
Yes, absolutely. So, all right, we're going to move on to our last topic here this evening, Chris. And this is the big one. You know, this is the $1 million question here, and there's a lot of skeptics out there about, will the Chiefs go back to back? Will the Chiefs go back to back and hit the Super Bowl again? And to start this off, Chris, I want to say that in 2019, the Chiefs were faced with 40-1 odds of winning the Super Bowl at the start of the season. And as it stands right now, the Chiefs have 7-1 odds and are obviously the favorites to repeat and go back to the Super Bowl. And those odds stepped up, from the moment that Chris Jones was signed. So that is, even in Vegas, they realized how much value Chris Jones holds to the Kansas City Chiefs, and our odds dramatically stepped up. So, Chris, we'll start with you. Do we have what it takes to repeat? And if, a secondary question, there are some weaknesses in the defensive secondary. Will the Chiefs do what it takes to fill those needs, or are the Chiefs going to go in with Charvarius Ward and Rashad Brayland, given the circumstances with the legal issues with Brayland?
So to begin with, first off, absolutely the Chiefs are in line to repeat. Probably a better chance than any other Super Bowl champ in recent history. The fact that you have 20 out of 22 starters coming back the following season, and you look at the two players that you lost, and you can honestly say that you replace them with better players. It blows my mind if anybody else wants to argue the point that the Chiefs are not a front runner to repeat. That said, this season's going to definitely pose its own set of challenges, because we're going to have, like you had mentioned, Breland, who's going to be dealing with the potential of a couple game suspension for his off-season issues. Again, the league hasn't necessarily handed out that determination of what it's going to be yet. But if we expect a couple games, so you're going to have Charvarius Ward having to be the 1, you're looking at Fenton being a 2, and then you have some very inexperienced rookies or one-year guys at the nickel and dime corner positions. Those first couple games are going to be a little tough, especially if we don't have a preseason game for those guys to get used to the pro speed. But I think as the season goes on, those guys will continue to get better and better. And again, I strongly rely on our coaching staff to really coach those guys up. It's going to be an extremely fun season to watch. We might have a heartbreaker there or two. But, man, I'm so excited for this to watch the Chiefs repeat and run it back again. It's going to be great. You really hit the nail on the head when you said that this defensive back scenario lies on the coaching staff, because it does. It truly does. And I believe that Spags can get these guys ready and in line with the core that is already there, especially with the safeties over the top, who can help blanket this, these receivers. I really look for this to be a scenario where I don't think the Chiefs are really going to be in too much trouble when it comes to cornerback, because how well Charvarius Ward plays, if there is, if Brayland isn't on the other side, and say the Chiefs start
anyone else, they'll still be okay. The Chiefs will still be okay. And I just do not see in a perfect world, the Chiefs would have a perfect roster. That's not possible. It is literally impossible to have every single hole filled on your entire 53-man roster. Even starters. There is a certain aspect to building a depth chart, and there will be holes. And this season, it happens to be cornerback. And I think the Chiefs will supplement that. They're a smart enough team to realize what they are lacking, and they will make that up somewhere else. It's just relying on the coaching staff, like you said, Chris. That's the biggest key to the success of the defensive backfield this season. But you have a leader and the Honey Badger, and also I really look for Juan Thornhill to come back and be a leader as well, and be a voice. And I feel confident. I don't feel that there's a necessity for any alarm to be going off in the heads of Chiefs Kingdom over, the cornerback position.
Well, and what's also going to really help out our secondary is our defensive front line. Mm-hmm. If they can get to the quarterback and pressure him quickly, it's going to force him to force some throws and make some bad throws, which is going to allow perhaps some inexperienced backs to make a play on the ball. Even if it is just knocking it away as opposed to intercepting it, it's going to really help them out.
And look, Chris, I want to add to that. And this is a huge factor too. The defensive line is critical, to adding pressure. And, when the first level gets to the quarterback, it makes things easy on the second and third level. But the Chiefs finally filled a need and an issue in middle linebacker. And I feel like Willie Gay Jr. is going to step into that position and open the rest of the field up, for, at the outside linebackers to kind of roam a little bit. And so, you look at that aspect, and I know that he hasn't been on the field yet, but you just have that feeling, with a player like Willie Gay, because he's smart, he plays fast, he hits hard, and he's all over the field. Plus, he's a ball hawk. So, just the mold that, I want to say this now, the model that Brett-Veach has been drafting throughout the years is not any different than Willie Gay Jr. So I feel like that's going to bring a sense of security to the run game as well as the passing game and change the dynamic of the entire defense.
No, absolutely. And that was another key piece in this offseason was drafting William Gay Jr. is wherever they line him up at linebacker, his speed and his ability to cover as well as rush the quarterback is going to drastically improve our linebacking core performance.
Yes.
But then also, like you kind of touched on, he's a ball hawk. He creates turnovers, whether it's creating fumbles or picking off the quarterback. This guy has a nose for the ball.
Yes.
And, definitely going to have to expect some growing pains from him as a rookie. But you look at the guys, the leaders that are around him, they're going to help to coach him up as well as the coaches. He just like Patrick Mahomes a couple years ago, William Gay Jr. came into a perfect scenario to help get him to the level that he's going to need to be at extremely quickly.
Yes, and then if you think of this dynamic, Chris, is the fact, the confidence level for him. When you come to a situation and a dynamic like the Kansas City Chiefs, and they put you in between Frank Clark, Chris Jones, the Honey Badger, Juan Thornhill, and then you have Patrick Mahomes and all those guys on the other side, your confidence level is through the roof. And if it's not through the roof, I promise when you get in that locker room, it will, because every single person will build your confidence level to the point where the rest of the locker room is, because I promise you there is not a man in that organization that does not believe that the Chiefs are a dynasty right now at this very point, and will move forward to win multiple Super Bowls. That it's a certain chemistry that is going on within this organization that will boost every other player as soon as they walk through the door.
Absolutely. And to kind of touch on that point that you just made as well, I feel like William Gay Jr., and he hasn't vocalized this at all, he hasn't said this anywhere, but I feel like he's going to be playing with a chip on his shoulder this year because of how his college career ended, and the fact that he performed so well at the combine, or tested so well at the combine, and he still fell out of the first round and all the way back to the second round. The fact that he was still there and available, well, I think that he's going to definitely come in with an edge in his game and be looking to show up these other teams that, hey, you missed out on me, and I'm going to make you regret it.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with coming in with a chip on your shoulder at middle linebacker. Just throw that. Nothing wrong with coming to Kansas City as a middle linebacker with a chip on your shoulder. Come on with it. Bring that chip with you and use it in every single game this season. I think the biggest thing that I really have noticed about William Gay Jr. outside of his athletic ability, his explosiveness, his play against the run, against the pass, he's intelligent. He is a very intelligent player, and that he is probably the smartest linebacker coming out of the draft. And again, one more time, we're going to bring up Brett-Veach's name because this is Veach. This is Veach right here. This is that checklist that you and I keep going back to over and over and over again. I think we've been saying this for 6 to 8 months now. He fit the bill, and there is a bill in Kansas City, and there is a certain standard, and I think at this point, any player who is coming into this organization, fits that standard, but the locker room's already there. It's not built, and there's no building process anymore. It's just filling holes. It's filling pieces, and now this just made Brett-Veach's job even easier. The hard work for the Kansas City Chiefs is over. Now it's just keeping that train moving, and that's what's exciting.
Absolutely.
I got a little off topic, but
well, it's fine. You definitely took it in a good direction. I like it.
So, Chris, I got to ask you. Is there anything else that you want to add to the show tonight? We have a lot of time in between shows, and there really isn't anything going on to speak of. We've come with a lot of great content tonight, and look, I have to say this Chris Jones signing is huge. This is huge. This is a big deal, Kansas City, bigger than a lot of fans realize. Like I'd mentioned earlier in the podcast, in any other franchise, Chris Jones would have walked. If you have Patrick Mahomes and then you have Chris Jones right behind him, I promise you, in any other franchise, I would put my bottom dollar on it, Chris Jones would have walked and went somewhere else because there wouldn't be enough cap space to keep him within that franchise. So Kansas City, just realize how lucky we are at this point, and respect the front office, because that's where it all comes from. So Chris Jones, 4 years, $80 million. We're all happy campers. Patrick Mahomes, huge contract, record-breaking. We are all happy campers about that as well. And now we are looking for a Chiefs repeat, 7-1 odds. This could not be a better scenario for the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, hell, we even have a winner of a contest tonight. And again, Bob Noller, if you're listening, you are the winner of the Artist Chief KC Kingdom Radio contest. And for Kris-Chavez, I am Richard Smith. Thank you for tuning in to KC Kingdom Radio. Have a great night, Kansas City.
Thank you for tuning in to Kingdom Radio, your go-to podcast for everything Kansas City Chiefs.